Hey, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. My name is Scott. I use pronouns he, him. And welcome here to UUCP. First off, I'd like to remind everybody, if you could please turn off all electronic devices. You know, those things start going off in the middle of the service and then have to fumble around for them and find them. So it's always good just to go ahead and just turn them off if you remember now. So we want to take a few moments to welcome any guests with us today. We are glad you're here. Anybody new to the church? Want to say hey? Welcome here. Like I say, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free, but otherwise there'll be people floating around here who would be happy to meet you. And for those who are longtime visitors, welcome back. So if you'd like to receive communications about us, please complete guest cards found on the credenza. You may return these to the greeters, leave on the credenza, or place in the offering basket. We do not have a written order of service, but each of you have been provided a document with information about us, as well as a form for any joys and sorrows that you may want to share. Please place the joys and sorrows form into the offering basket when we pass this around later on in the service. These will be read later on during our service today. So I have a few announcements for us before we begin. Let's see. Okay, just a few, unless anybody else has any other ones. At 2 p.m. today, we have our welcoming congregation talk, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. It's on Zoom. It's not here in the church. So if you're a member, you should have received a Zoom link that was sent around by Laura this morning. And if you need one, then feel free to let us know, and we'll make sure that we get you one. Okay. All right. Is there anything else on that? Yes.
I apologize for not writing this out, but the Affordable Housing, Just Pensacola's Affordable Housing Research Committee is having a meeting tomorrow night at 6, and if anybody is interested, get with me and I'll get you linked into it.
Okay, good. All right, so everybody hear that? See, the Affordable Housing group is going to be meeting at 6 o'clock, and that's with Just Pensacola. And is that meeting here?
It's Zoom.
Zoom? Okay, yeah, so if you need to get a link to that, then here's Penny. All right, Penny can get that to you. Okay. And also I want to mention that on February 11th, is Chappie James' birthday. As you know, that this is the subject of our talk today. So if you want to follow the Facebook page with the Chappie James Museum, there'll be some announcements about anything that's going on. They won't be doing any in-person things because of COVID, but they will be. But there will be a proclamation from the city, and there may be some other things that you can follow along. Or at the very least, you could just mark the holiday, but Ellis will talk more about that. And last but not least, Maddie, my daughter, is selling Girl Scout cookies out there in the background over there. We forgot to bring change though, so if you have change, that would be awesome. We also take checks if you need to. So just wanted to throw that out to you to help with those sweet teeth that might be in the audience. All right, any other announcements? All right. Okay, so let's begin. So our opening words are by Frances E.W. Harper. Many of you might know her. She's a poet. She was writing during the Reconstruction era largely. She wrote a really famous novel at that time called Iola Leroy. It's worth your time if you're interested in the time period to read. But she was a Unitarian like us. And she wrote a lot of poetry, and I have this one poem that I like of hers, and I wanted to read this to you. This is Songs for the People. Let me make the songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir like a battle cry wherever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabers, for carnage nor for strife, but songs to thrill the hearts of men with more abundant life. Let me make the songs for the weary amid life's fever and fret, till hearts shall relax their tension and careworn brows forget. Let me sing for little children before their footsteps stray, sweet anthems of love and duty to float o'er life's highway. I would sing for the poor and aged when shadows dim their sight of the bright and restful mansions where there shall be no night. Our world so worn and weary needs music pure and strong to hush the jangle and discords of sorrow, pain, and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grow tender, girdle the world with peace. And again, that was by Francis E.W. Harper. And our choir is going to join us for a song. We did this a couple weeks ago when I was talking. We were doing when we did the MLK service. So a lot of you are familiar with this, but a lot of you are familiar with the song anyway, just from being around. This is "Lift Every Voice." It's 149 on your hymnal. I have the first verse up here, but the choir is going to bless us with the rest of the verses, and your books also have the rest of the verses too.
It's 149 in your hymnal.
Oh, and please rise if you're willing and able. We are going to pass around the collection plate now. As you know, the church is supported by the generosity of all who come here, all of our friends, and we'd love for you to give generously. And our musical interlude is Bobby Anderson. All right, we have a few joys and sorrows. First off, Jeff and Erin Renfro, we are so grateful for all the good wishes and offers of help when Jeff had his procedure. It meant the world to us to know that we have the support of our church community. So on behalf of them, thank you. Yeah. Glad it worked out. All right, and from Bill Kaplinger, I've been in contact several times in the past week with Brian Hansen, our longtime member, who is now in a work release program in Arizona, where he is very successfully working for a company that makes, what is it?
Baylor's.
Baylor compactors, and it's called Grunalot. Crenalot, okay, Crenalot, making very good money. All right, so that's really good news from Brian Hansen. You remember him, so it's good to hear that he's doing well. So, and hopefully we'll be back in freedom soon. So, good for Brian, and good for all of us, and good for Bill for keeping up too. All right. A lot of times when people are in prison, that they're often completely forgotten by the world. So it's a blessing for the people that are in there to have people that are still in touch. So reentry can happen. And some more joys and sorrows. This came to us earlier. We have our member, Patty Gunderson, has had some serious health issues, including a fractured neck bone. She is isolated and would appreciate phone calls and cards. So any phone calls and cards that you can send to Patty would be very appreciated. And the neighbor of Mary Lee and Jerry Donnelly would appreciate healing thoughts for her daughter Ingrid. Ingrid has lung cancer and is in treatment. So any healing thoughts that way would be greatly appreciated. And for Jack and Kate Wolverton, Kate and Jack Wolverton are happy to announce the birth of their granddaughter, Brinley Shannon Wolverton. Brinley Wolverton was born on February 2nd to Nate and Molly Wolverton. You remember Nate? Maybe you remember not Molly too. Kate and Jack are traveling to Houston to meet the new baby as we speak, driving on I-10, I assume, getting over there to Texas. Godspeed to them. All right, so thank you so much for bringing those up. We have a lot of good things that are happening. All right. So our words of reflection today are by Langston Hughes, and it's another poem. As you know, I teach English. I dig poems and poetry. I love poetry. Langston Hughes, he had a birthday the other day too. February 2nd was his birthday. I should also mention Lift Every Voice also had a birthday, or is having a birthday coming up soon. Lift Every Voice, the song that we know, was originally written by James Weldon and Rosamund Johnson. If you have the opportunity to go to Jacksonville, they have a really interesting museum. It's called the Ritz, former theater, and they have animatronics of James Weldon Johnson and Rosamund Johnson who are playing piano like machines, less like Chuck E. Cheese and more like the real thing. But it's really interesting. It might sound weird, but you can take a look at it on YouTube. But the anniversary of the song is coming up because they released it on Abraham Lincoln's birthday, on his 100th birthday to celebrate emancipation. So that's some of the background history there. But they're from Jacksonville, Florida. So I just want to mention that before I forget, too. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring that song in is because, not only because it's a good traditional song, but also when I went over to see Ellis and talk to Ellis about the talk that we're going to do, that he's going to do, that I saw Lift Every Voice up on the wall and remembered all of the Movement for Change meetings that we went to, and all the Movement for Change meetings, if you ever gone to them, they always begin with singing Lift Every Voice. So it's a very sentimental song in many, many different ways. But Langston Hughes, though, is also a very sentimental poet. He is, for me personally, he is the one poet who's there for you when no one else is. So when you lose all your friends, just pull that Langston Hughes book off the shelf, and Langston's there for you. If you're mad at the world, he's right there with you. If you're happy with the world, he's there too. If you're heartbroken, he's there. And if you're in love, he's there too. So he's a really great poet to have around. There aren't many of those who are just there for you at every moment, but very prolific. But also was very conscious of the times that he was living in. And this one poem I have is called Will V-Day Be Me Day Too? And V-Day being, of course, Victory Day over World War II. And this talks about the Double V campaign that Ellis is going to talk about a little bit before, or into the talk. But this is, will Victory Day be me day too? So will V-Day be me day too? Over there, World War II, dear fellow Americans, I write this letter, hoping times will be better when this war is through. I'm a tan-skinned Yank, driving a tank. I ask, Will V-Day be me day too? I wear a U.S. uniform. I've done the enemy much harm. I've driven back the Germans and the Japanese from Burma to the Rhine. On every battle line, I've dropped defeat into the fascist laps. I am a Negro American out to defend my land. Army, Navy, Air Corps, I'm there. I take munitions through. I fight or stevedore too. I face death the same as you do everywhere. I've seen my buddy lying where he fell. I've watched him dying. I promised him I would try to make our land a land where his son could be a man, and there'd be no Jim Crow birds left in our sky. So this is what I want to know. When we see victories glow, will you still let old Jim Crow hold me back? When all those foreign folks who've waited, Italians, Chinese, Danes, are liberated, will I still be ill-fated because I'm black? Here in my native land, will Jim Crow laws still stand? Will Dixie still lynch me? Will Dixie lynch me still when I return? Or will you, comrades in arms, from the factories and the farms, have learned what this war was fought for us to learn? When I take off my uniform, will I be safe from harm? Or will you do me as the Germans did the Jews? When I have helped this world to save, shall I still be color's slave? Or will victory change your antiquated views? You can't say I didn't fight to smash the fascist might. You can't say I wasn't with you in each battle as a soldier and a friend. When this war comes to an end, will you herd me in a Jim Crow car like cattle? Or will you stand up like a man at home and take your stand for democracy? That's all I ask of you. When we lay down the guns, when we lay the guns away to celebrate our victory day, will V-Day be me day too? That's what I want to know. Sincerely, G.I. Joe. And that was Langston Hughes. Now I'm going to have the pleasure of introducing my good friend, Ellis Jones. I first met Ellis through Movement for Change, and as probably mentioned, Movement for Change is one of the places that's local here. It's I know it's close to a lot of folks' heart. It was also where a lot of the impetus for the Chappie James Museum started. And Ellis was reminding me of that the other day when we were talking. And Ellis has been a fixture with Movement for Change and in the community for years, but specifically with the Chappie James Museum. So Ellis is a native of Pensacola, is a former student at Tuskegee Institute, which is located in the city of Tuskegee, Alabama, the home of the famed Tuskegee Airmen. Ellis is currently a board member of the Chappie James Museum, which is located at 1606 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. So I have the pleasure of welcoming Ellis Jones.
I'm asking. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for the invitation, Scott. I really appreciate the time to come and talk to you. As Scott mentioned, I am a member of the Chappie James Museum Board. And like many museums, we are a small museum, and so our board members are actually a hands-on effort for us. But like many museums, our goal is to historically portray information to the public in the form of stories, possibly, I'm just using that as an example, and exhibits. So we try to tell a story based upon a particular person or a theme, and that's what we've done in the museum. So one of the goals of my speaking to you today is to talk to you about heroes, because that is one of the titles of my talk today, heroes. And hopefully when you leave here today, and at some point in time, you will have learned a little bit more about our processes and how we personalize that effort to find and look at the characteristics of a hero. And hopefully when you, at some point in time in the future, you may want to think about who are your heroes, you'll have some sort of formula or some sort of ideas of garnering or gathering your inputs to personalize your own hero. You know, in today's times, we are seeing many challenges to historical facts and information because heroes typically are developed on those facts, on that information. Although there are heroes that are mythical, that are fictional, but in many cases they are real life figures. And today's challenges include those in which information on historical data is being subverted in a sense. We are looking at, it's becoming a political football in a sense. We've seen politicians, we've seen entertainers, and people of a different philosophic ink try to change our history. And that's good and bad because it makes us think. You know, it now brings out our critical thinking opportunities. We've seen now, not only in the US, but all across America, I should say all across the world, South America, North America, Europe, Africa, we've seen people look at the old designations of a hero. We've seen people tear down monuments, statues, and replace them with what they think are figures that need to be more representative of their ilk. Excuse me. So it's something that's ongoing, and it brings again our effort to think critically. So who is deserving? Who is a hero? How do you define a hero? One of the persons that you may recognize this individual, his name is Charles Barkley. He's currently a sportscaster on one of the local sports, the national sports shows. But back in the 90s, Charles made a quote that says, "I am not a role model. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean that I should raise your kid." You know, Charles saw the failings of stardom. He realized that all too often, entertainers, sports figures, politicians have a connotation that their lives should be an example for all of us, but it's only one aspect of living. A hero should not be just have one characteristic. So it begs the question again, how do you define a hero? And this is some of the characteristics that I consider when I thought about the question. One is their actions. We have to consider their major deeds of their lives. Service. Have they considered unselfishness in their lives? Character. Is their character admirable? And leadership. Have they demonstrated successful leadership? One of my heroes is this is a photograph of General Chappie James, who I learned of when I was a elementary school kid at St. Anthony's School. We saw a flyover, and General James came and swooped down and enthralled the kids of that community, of that school. He did dives and curls and rollovers. You know, we were really impressed by his acrobatic skills as a pilot. And I've been following, that sort of led me to him, and I followed him over the years, learning about his leadership, his achievements, and his skills. Okay, next spot. This is a video that's devoted to General James. So General James is a native of Pensacola, and as I said, I followed his footsteps, his legacy. He, as a youth, aspired to fly. He entered Tuskegee in 1937. It was called Tuskegee Institute at that time. Now it's Tuskegee University. But he entered Tuskegee, and he joined the Civilian Air Patrol program, which is a nationwide program to teach young, primarily men, I think, to fly airplanes to assist the Army Air Force at the time. He graduated, became a second lieutenant, and he stayed on at Tuskegee to teach the pilots. And those pilots eventually became the Tuskegee Airmen. Okay. So this sort of gives you an overview of the Tuskegee Airmen and their roles, especially during World War II. General James also played a big role in Vietnam and the Korean War. The next slide summarizes the life of Chappie. It kind of goes along with the theme of today's talk, is looking at the actions, the character, the leadership roles of what we call a hero. So these are milestones in the life of General James, and I'll let you take a look at them, take a quick glance at them. Again, they are coincident with the goal of depicting the role of a hero and their characteristics. Let's take a second to do that. Okay. The next slide pays tribute to some of the ways in which we pay tribute to him. Included are in 2001 the Chappie James site, which is a site that houses both the museum and a new building, which is the Chappie James Flight Academy. That site was designated on the Registry of Historic Places because of the role of General James and his mother, Miss Lily James, who started a school and a private school, and she taught him along with other community residents. In 2018, the museum was opened. In 2020, we had our 100th year anniversary of his birthday, which again is the 11th of February of every year. We try to honor his celebration. This year we'll be getting, it'll be themed the Chappie James Day by both the city of Pensacola and the county of Escambia. They'll both honor him with that tribute, Chappie James Day. As you may know, the state of Florida has designated the new bridge as the General Daniel Chappie James Memorial Bridge. The opening ceremony, whenever the bridge, we can't say the definitive schedule because, as you know, the date fluctuates. Hopefully it'll be sometimes during the spring. And then later this year, there'll be a monument at the base of the bridge near the visitor center. Excuse me. And that's planned to be unveiled during the month of September. Excuse me. And the major impetus of that is a foundation called the General Daniel Chappie James Memorial Bridge Foundation. So they're behind that, and that will include a approximately 8-foot high statue of General James, cradle, I won't say cradle, but on the background will be a full-size F-4, which is the airplane that he flew during his last active duty service. And no. This is the museum that I'm a part of. This is the Chappie James Museum. What we've done is refurbished the boyhood home of General James. So it's a museum, and I hope that you can get a chance to stop by. Admission is free, and we've just opened a new exhibit that's focused on the Tuskegee Airmen. So it's very interesting, and we ask you to come by when you get a chance. Our hours are limited. You'll have to go to our website, and I'll give you some information before you leave if you're interested. Because of the pandemic, we're trying to keep the crowds, the tour groups, to a minimum. So we're asking that people reserve a time and a day that you wish to come by. And this, lastly, is an essay that General James wrote. He died, unfortunately, at an early age. He died of a heart attack. Unfortunately, heart disease runs in his family. He died at the age of 58. So he died in 1978. If you can read that essay, which sums up his life, his story. I didn't write it down. So the strength of the United States of America, I hate to take back, lies in its unity. It lies in a free men, blessed and ordained with the rights of freedom, working to provide, build, enjoy, and grow. Those who would subvert us or any free people try to disrupt this unity by breaking the small parts from the whole, driving in the wedges of fear and discontent. I am a Negro, and therefore I am subject to their constant harangue. They say you, James, are a member of a minority. You are a black man. They say you should be disgusted with this American society, this so-called democracy. They say you can only progress so far in any field that you choose before somebody puts his foot on your neck for no other reason than you are black. They say you are a second-class citizen. My heritage of freedom provides my reply. To them I say, I am a citizen of the United States of America. I am not a second-class citizen, and no man here is unless he thinks like one, reasons like one, or performs like one. This is my country, and I believe in her, and I believe in her flag, and I'll defend her, and I'll fight for her, and serve her. If she has any ills, I'll stand by her and hold her hand until in God's given time, through her wisdom and her consideration for the welfare of the entire nation, things are made right again. Today's world situation requires strong men to stand up and be counted. No matter what their personal grievances are, our greatest weapon is when we have always possessed our heritage of freedom, our unity as a nation. So this sums up my rationale, our rationale for choosing General James as our personal hero, Pensacola's hero. I hope that you agree, and I hope that he serves as inspiration for all of us. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just want to mention this. This video is a song that came out while Chappie James was alive. He died right, was it 3 weeks? Is that right? Ellis? Chappie James died 3 weeks after he retired?
Chappie James.
Yeah, he died. He died 3 weeks after he retired, right? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
25, right,
Yeah,
25 days, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a short time right after he retired from the Air Force that he died. So, but he was lucky enough to be able to see this suite perform. You probably know the Airmen of Note if you listen to NPR; they always play them all the time. But they're the Air Force's band, and they put together this thing called the Chappie James Suite. And it has a of course, musical background, but then Chappie James is reading over top of this and reads part of the speech that you just heard. So just wanted to give you a little bit of that. There's a longer version of this, but we got the short one.
They say, James, you're a black man. They say, you're a member of a minority. I accept that. Somebody took the time to count. I came out on the short end. No sweat. They said, you should be dissatisfied here. You're no citizen in this country. You're a second-class citizen. And the white man really doesn't like you. No matter what field of endeavor you choose, you can only progress just so far. And then he's gonna put his foot on your neck and stop you, just because you're a black man. I say, hell, I'm not disgusted. I'm a citizen of the United States of America, and I'm no second-class citizen either, and no man is here unless he thinks like one, and reasons like one, and performs like one. This is my country. And I believe in her. And I believe in her wisdom to make the decisions and to choose the place and under what conditions I fight for her. And if she's got ills, I'll hold her hand until she can put them right. But in the meantime, I'll protect her against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And anybody who's gonna go up against that has got to run over me, and I guarantee you he's gonna get a bloody nose. She's the greatest in the world. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that those with whom you come in contact are proud of their American heritage. Realize that freedom is not only their heritage, but their responsibility.
That record is it's called Brothers in Blue. It came out in mid-70s, as you could tell by the music in the background. All right, so our closing words today are from O.C. Davis, and you probably know him as the actor, but what I didn't know until I was doing the research for this talk was that O.C. Davis is the son of Benjamin O. Davis, and Benjamin O. Davis is the first one-star general in the U.S. military, and he was Chappie James's commanding officer. So I thought it was an interesting tie-in that neither of us knew until this week. But these are closing words by O.C. Davis. We can't float through life. We can't be incidental or accidental. We must fix our gaze on a guiding star as soon as one comes upon the horizon. And once we have attached ourselves to that star, we must keep our eyes on it and our hands upon the plow. It is the consistency of the pursuit of the highest possible vision that you can find in front of you that gives you that constancy, that gives you the encouragement, that gives you the way to understand where you are and why it's important for you to do what you can do. Thank you very much. And with that concludes our service. Hope you have a really great day and be cool.